Hey everyone, welcome back to the Maverick channel. I'm not convinced that you truly understand what is going on here with Fetch.AI, with Mettalex, and with Atomix. These products, I think, are going to lead the next bull run. I'm not talking about Mettalex, Atomix, and Fetch.AI as single entities, but I think the next bull run is going to be centered around that space. It's going to be centered around decentralized finance, but it's also going to be centered around a deeper sense of decentralized finance. And what I'm talking about is synthetic assets. Because I truly believe these bull runs have become meaningless unless they're based around utility. The cryptocurrencies out there that are building, that are focusing on actual utility, actual real world use cases. And what spells real world use case more than synthetics? Now, briefly, to speak about synthetics, what synthetics is, think about oracles. Oracles, the purpose of oracles is to bring real world data onto the blockchain. Synthetics is bringing real world physical or even traditional assets, anything physical that can be monetized, and bringing those price feeds, bringing that data onto the blockchain and cryptocurrency scene. And that massively expands decentralized finance beyond just the cryptocurrency scene, but into the physical world. People can lend, people can borrow, people can take loans, people can build a whole financial structure onto these platforms. So I truly think some of the things that are going to dominate the next bull run are going to be synthetic assets, not just DeFi as we know it today, and I'm going to elaborate on that, but physical assets or finance as we know it in the physical world being brought onto the blockchain. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because of these products that Fetch.AI is building. Of course, we know the Fetch.AI token, the FET token, which is based around the Fetch.AI ecosystem for building multi-agent systems and autonomous economic agents. And the funny thing is that all this fits so well in the sense of automating all these products and services that are going to evolve in that sense of bringing traditional finance and finding solutions of how to actually bring traditional finance and physical assets like your house or the mortgage on your house, or you want to take a loan on something, being able to convert that into a virtual currency, into a virtual commodity, and then taking a loan out of that. That is going to be a major influence towards taking cryptocurrencies from where they are into the mainstream. Now, the reason why I'm extremely bullish on this, first of all, we know about Mettalex. This video is not about Mettalex, it's actually about Atomix. Now, we know about Mettalex, derivatives, commodities, being able to trade on physical commodities, shorting and longing and comparing different assets. You can even compare traditional assets with crypto assets and trade on that. So I think that's extremely revolutionary. And I think, if I'm to guess, this is dealing with synthetic assets, and it's going to be one of those things that's going to be at the forefront of how the crypto market is going to evolve as a whole. Now, look at this page, Atomix. I don't think my listeners have looked into this quite deeply to understand the significance of this. Bringing real world assets to decentralized finance. Now, I've done a video about Atomix, so this is not going to be a detailed review of Atomix, but it's going to be a video that's going to help us put a few things into perspective to bring some more clarity on what is going on, the significance of what this product is. Look at this. Supply stablecoins receive a competitive yield. Now, look deeper into what they're saying here. Atomix enables stablecoin holders to supply liquidity and receive a yearly yield composed of protocol-generated returns and Atomix rewards. That yield is highly competitive compared to returns delivered by decentralized finance and traditional alternatives. You realize here that they're talking about three categories. We know about traditional finance, we know about decentralized finance, but they seem to be talking about a third category. The yield is highly competitive compared to returns delivered by decentralized finance and traditional finance, which means they're classifying themselves, they're categorizing themselves in another group in another aspect of decentralized finance, not the traditional decentralized finance as we know it. So competitive returns, we see supplying stablecoin liquidity to Atomix entitles providers to protocol generated returns. We'll look into that shortly. And here, generous Atomix rewards. In addition to the protocol generated returns, USDT liquidity providers receive Atomix governance tokens as rewards. Low risk. The Atomix protocol manages a pool of Atomix and USDT to ensure the liquidity providers receive their original liquidity, then withdraw capital at any time. Liquidity providers can withdraw their stablecoins at any time. So guys, let's look at this diagram here. Now, the reason why I actually did this diagram is because when I did the Atomix video in the past, I was confused about this part here. These entities here, the valuer and the security trustee. So I always ask myself, they have to be third parties. They can't be automated. They have to be actual human beings or people that can actually form companies around this. And the purpose of these companies is to validate if you're an originator and you have an asset which you want to put as collateral to mint tokens, as we shall look at, so you can use those tokens to borrow, then there has to be these entities who are the valuer and the security trustee. So I always ask myself, these have to be third-party entities. They cannot be automated market makers or algorithms. And I found this old video by Maria Minarikova, which was an interview with a platform called Emargo India. Now, this is an older interview, but she really explained this whole idea of who these people are, the security trustee and the valuer, and it put things into perspective. You know what? Just watch the video right now and see what I'm talking about.
We are also building a DeFi lending platform for lending. So yeah, DeFi lending platform, sorry. And you can do lending and borrowing against real assets. So that's the difference between what's currently available on the market. This will be real assets that are verified by lawyers, by notaries. They will be tokenized and you can lend or borrow against that. So yeah, that is quite interesting, and are actually working, like I said, with people from that will be able to then really to evaluate those assets, because I think that's kind of what's missing at the moment. It's all sort of tokenized, but you don't have this connection to the real world assets, and Atomix will allow that.
So now that we've fully understood, or at least that we have an idea of who these people are, let's look at this diagram in simple detail. And this is what this video is going to be about. So say you're an originator. So you're the person with the asset that you want to collateralize. Essentially, you give this asset, or you bring a certificate, or you bring this asset to the attention of the valuer and security trustee. And after they've justified and put a certain value on this asset, in return, they interact with this Atomix platform and they mint these tokens called ACT or ACT tokens. And as an originator, once you have access to these ACT tokens, you can then do all your activities on this decentralized platform without the permission of anyone else. You can use these tokens with whatever you see fit. You can bring these ACT tokens into a lending pool, which you can then use to take a loan. And this loan accrues interest until you pay it back. So once you pay it back, these extra fees that you've paid back are then circulated within the system. So we'll get into that in a bit. So after you pay back your loan, you then get back this loan can be given to you in USDT, so you can use that in the real world. So once you pay back that loan, you then returned those ACT tokens, and then you interact with the smart contract by burning those ACT tokens. And once that happens, you get back your ownership of the security that you deposited before or earlier on. Then the other party, because we've looked at the security trustee, the valuer, who are encapsulated as one party, then the originator or borrower, that's another party. So we have another participant who is the liquidity provider. Now, this is where things get interesting. So if you're out there and you've been interested, if you're like me, I'm very interested in constantly looking for ways of being a liquidity provider, because that's pretty much how I make a living. People ask me, how do you make a living? I'm like, I don't know how to explain. It's not this thing I do online, but essentially that's what it is. So DeFi is something I'm deeply interested in because that's how I freaking put food on the table. Excuse my French. So essentially, if you're a liquidity provider, what you can do is that you have USDT, for example, here. I imagine if they expand this to other platforms like Binance or whatever, you can use another stablecoin, because we know USDT is predominantly an Ethereum-based token. But of course, if there's scalability on Ethereum, then that would really help, with the fees and everything. So if you're a liquidity provider, you deposit this USDT into a liquidity vault, and then XUSDT tokens are minted. These XUSDT tokens represent your position of the liquidity that you deposited. And you can take these XUSDT tokens and put them into this governance Atomix vault, which in turn distributes Atomix tokens back to you as a reward, because you're providing that liquidity, that oil that helps the machine to move, right? Because if someone puts a collateralized assets and they want to borrow money, where is the money? So you're providing a tremendous amount of value by being a liquidity provider. So that's not where it stops. So your rewards, you remember the extra fees that we talked about that the originator or the borrower pays onto the platform after they've repaid their loan. So essentially, when you lend these XUSDT tokens, you not only get the Atomix reward, but your XUSDT also increases in value the longer you leave it there, because the reward that you get is a yearly annual reward, like an APY sort of thing. So you see, this is not like a traditional DeFi thing. You're lending a single stablecoin, and by lending that stablecoin, you're getting XUSDT, which you then put into the vault. This XUSDT keeps increasing in value. So it's like if you were to lend on, say, PancakeSwap, just as an example, Uniswap, you keep getting those LP rewards. So as people are trading between those assets, they're just trading, you're getting those rewards. So it's something similar to this. As people are borrowing and paying back their loan, you get a chunk of those rewards. So your XUSDT, which represents your position of the liquidity that you provided, keeps increasing in value. And in turn, you're also receiving the Atomix tokens. So guys, that's essentially it. I just wanted to present this chart right here, and I wanted to bring into perspective how significant Atomix is and how this product is. It's one of those things where like knowledge is power, but at the same time, you have to give credit where credit is due. We have to truly respect the Fetch.AI team and what they're building, and we really hope that such products actually come to fruition. I bet we all can't wait to see what the final product of this Atomix ecosystem will look like. But all I can say is that I'm extremely enthusiastic and extremely excited to see how this whole thing turns out. So guys, I just wanted to bring this to your attention and to reaffirm the fact of how important this is, and how this could be such things related to synthetic assets and bringing real world finance, or somehow finding a way of monetizing physical products, bringing them onto the blockchain and creating value there. This might be one of those things that might be predominant in the next crypto bull run, having actual use cases. So guys, thank you for watching this. Hope you learned more here today. I certainly did, as always, and I hope to catch you on the next one. Take care guys, have a good one.